All right, we're with Parkaran Krishnan, veteran journalist and former senior producer at Al Jazeera today for our front page. Good morning, Paki. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, JD. Good morning, Bel. Happy to be on air.
Now, let's get to our first article. In your opinion, with the Sri Petaling cluster now over, how safe are we now that the pandemic is relatively under control?
That's a keyword, relatively under control. You're right. I mean, we all are happy. For example, 3 days running, we have not had any local cases, zero. We have had a few important ones, I think, and I think there have also not been many or hardly any cases involving foreign workers. These are our danger zones, right? Foreign workers and imports. So we are on the right track. But then again, I don't think we should celebrate, we should jump, and say we should be gung-ho about it. Let's go, we are on, we're back to normal, because we have seen enough damage done with such attitudes abroad. Many countries are struggling because of this attitude. We have India, Brazil, even some Asian countries that had second waves, which were very unfortunate. So I think until a vaccine is found and tested successfully, we should all just follow the SOPs. I mean, I'm with the government on this. We have to be strict, but there has to be more monitoring, I think serious monitoring of imports and foreign workers. So it's not over yet. We are not out of the woods yet. We must bear that in mind.
All right, this next article, Barisan National Secretary General Tan Sri Anwar Musa actually said that state governments under Pakatan Harapan reserve the right to not dissolve their assemblies, even though the federal government is dissolved for a snap election. Well, our understanding is that a state assembly will have to be dissolved when a new government takes over. But why is this not the case?
I think it's not the case legally. Now, we have our federal and state constitutions, which are pretty clear on this. It does not mean that there's any change in government other than by voting. We're talking of backdoor and changing numbers, and so this requires no change. The state constitution clearly states that any any election or a snap election has to be called with the advice of the chief minister or the Menteri Besar to the governor or the sultans. So that is very clear.
Okay.
It is the same with federal government. I mean, the federal government had not experienced this. We are doing it for the first time. I think we'll talk about it later. But we have had a few precedents on this, like the Perak government in 2008. It fell to the opposition. Then, which was the Pakatan Rakyat, consisting of DAP, PAS, and PKR, which won by a one-seat majority, and then you had the usual frogs jumping, and the government fell. The huge hue and cry, but they did not call for a re-election because the government that took over by default was sworn in, and the Menteri Besar decided that you don't need a re-election. So I think as long as you're in a comfortable position, for example, now, if there's a snap election at federal level, Penang is pretty stable with a two-third majority by the ruling party. Similar in Selangor, so why should they call for a re-election? It's because the federal government wants a re-election. They've got the respective state constitutions. If you remember Sarawak does not have simultaneous elections with the federal level. They're always different, and it's actually due next year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the law. So, and I think it's right of the current opposition, current federal opposition governments like Penang and Selangor. I mean, why should they want to also call for snap elections and put pressure on themselves in the state? They can consolidate their strength and support the federal government in the snap election. Forgetting about the state, except for the parliament seats.
Because I remember, I thought like even back in the day when general election was called and then parliament was dissolved, and back then Kelantan was opposition back then. Even they dissolved, didn't they?
Yeah, probably because of the constitutionally they had to 5-year period. You know what I mean? So they have to do it. Otherwise, they have to do it legally.
So
That's
this is
why.
not.
And
So,
all the other states were ruled by the federal government as well, part of the federal coalition. So of course, they will follow their leader. Kelantan, they had to do it because the 5-year period was up.
okay, so legally they can still keep the state assemblies even though the federal parliament has been dissolved.
Yes.
All right, water woes again in the Klang Valley, 290 areas across 5 regions. Petaling, Klang, Gombak, Kuala Langat and Kuala Lumpur will have water disruption for 4 days from July 14. And I'm just thinking, why does the Klang Valley constantly need upgrades to its systems, which results in water cuts, whereas states like Perak, they don't even seem to experience water cuts. Is it just a case of bad water management on our part?
Okay, you're right. It's happening once too many times. I don't know whom to blame, actually. If you go back to history, we have to blame it on the previous governments as well. It was that included the Barisan government when they ruled Selangor, and also Pakatan when it took over more than 10 years ago, 12 years ago. You see, first of all, the usage, 1/4 of the Malaysian population that uses water happens to be in the Klang Valley, which means that's about we have 32 million, 1/4 would be like 8 million, 8.3 million. So you have a water pipe network of 6,000 kilometer long in Selangor. And these were all installed many, many years ago, probably decades ago, and they used asbestos. And so a lot of it is because of burst pipes, pipe leakages, because of the pressure of the usage. The number is increasing. They managed to replace, I think, about 422 kilometers or something like that in 2017. But there has not been any systemic plan from those days to realize that this could happen because of the consumption rate and also the age of the pipes. They could have looked at it. And then you also had this pollution, the frequent pollution of treatment plants where you have illegal factories, illegal waste dumping, you have diesel spills, all this sort of thing also happens. And there was also an element of sabotage then. There was a political sabotage, and that's what happened. So this was quite costly. And of course, the other factors like burst pipes by third parties like Tenaga and, those who repair road works, companies, LRT construction, MRT construction. So all this has contributed to the really frequent water disruptions in the city and the Klang Valley. And I think they have to have a serious plan to stop this once and for all. It's becoming a nuisance, actually.
Yeah, because 4 days is a long time. And if you look, and I hate it, I know Malaysians hate it when we compare to places like Singapore, but they have no natural water sources. In fact, some of the times they buy water from us, yet they have no issues with water supply to their people, basically.
But you must understand they also have a very small network of water pipes, so it's easier to maintain. But give it to them. I mean, the technocrats are better in terms of forward planning, expecting this kind of things to happen. I mean, it's quite natural.
Pakatan Harapan leaders had criticized Prime Minister Muhyiddin's bid to remove Muhammad Arif and his deputy Nga Koming from chairing Dewan Rakyat sittings. And they have also said that removing a speaker was unprecedented, as the post was normally vacated after a general election. So constitutionally, Paki, is the appointment or nomination of Art Harun and Azalina legal? And why this sudden appointment?
Well, in the first place, I must tell you, we are a democracy, and some things were made clear. Although we are practicing democracy, but it's a bit guided. We have the Prime Minister of the day having a huge, powerful say in what happens in Parliament. Although we have the doctrine of separation of powers, where the judiciary, the executive, which is the government, and the parliament are totally independent. Which means in parliament, the speaker is the most powerful person. He decides what motions can be tabled, what cannot be tabled independently. He can do it. He did not consult anyone in power. So you say it's unprecedented. Yes, it is, but we are also in an unprecedented situation where the change of government happened. Previously, we had 13 elections, and after every election, Barisan won, and they kept on appointing their nominee, independent or otherwise. Of course, we know it was not. So they could go on appointing, but when this happened, this change was unprecedented. A government maneuvered and came in through the other way. So the Pakatan Harapan government had nominated the current speaker in 2018, although he was a former judge and is said to be independent, and I must give it to him. He was a very good speaker, intelligent, smart, and very much in control of all the happenings in parliament. But he was a political nominee. He's a member of Amanah, which is a coalition of Pakatan Harapan. So there was no such thing as an independent speaker per se. So legally, only a parliament can change a speaker. And when can they change a speaker? There's several reasons why they can do it. When the House meets after a general election for the first time, and then when the speaker ceases to be a member of the House, or when it's disqualified under some constitutional clause, or if the House resolves at any time to change the speaker, or when he becomes incapacitated, whether by death or other ways. But right now, I think the fourth clause is the one where the House is going to resolve that he has to be changed. So the motion will have to be put to vote and see who has the majority. And if he wins, then he remains. But I think going by convention, like a state assemblies in Perak, I go back to the 2008 election where the government fell after a year or what, and the speaker had to be changed, but the speaker refused to leave. He wanted to continue with the proceedings, but he was dragged out by the security people in the state assembly.
Wow.
So are we going to have that situation now? But this is a very decent speaker we have. He's not going to probably hang on stubbornly there, knowing that people are watching. So I'm sure he might want to give in to what the Prime Minister or the Parikatan National wants. They can't be having parliament with a speaker from the opposition taking charge. You know what I mean? We're not used to it, although it'd be an ideal situation for Malaysians, having different sides. So I think it's legally a precedent as well. It's going to be a legal precedent, actually.
Let's get to our final news article. Now, the Perikatan National Government, led by Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin, may call for snap polls as early as this year or 2021. This is what Datuk Sri Muhammad Azmin Ali said, right? Now, in your opinion, Paki, is now a good time for the Perikatan National Government to call for a snap poll?
Okay, personally, I have some opinions, but generally, the opinion tends to vary. Okay, let's talk about the political parties. I think UMNO and PAS are pushing for it to be held.
Paki, hold on. We just got a buzz from that. Okay, can you go back to...
Okay, was that mine?
Yeah. UMNO and PAS again.
Okay, UMNO and PAS want it badly for obvious reasons. I think they suddenly feel they're super powerful and they can have the majority in any snap election. Bersatu is a bit reluctant because, they are having issues internally and also against the component parties in Perikatan. Pakatan Harapan definitely does not want it because they feel their drive now is to get back our mandate. And I think they'll be in trouble if the snap election is held because of the other side, which has got together very well. So everyone, all these parties and leaders have the selfish reasons, and they do not care about us, you and me, Bel, JD, who has that one important vote to give them to stay in power. I mean, do they care? I don't think so, because it's all about power and positions. while we say this, there are several economists who are not politically aligned who says calling for a snap election is not a good idea because they are more concerned about the interests of all. They feel that it is the last thing that Malaysia needs right now because we just went through a tough one 2 years ago, and then it was quite bruising as well, if you remember, because of the regime change, when people traded their mandate. I think right now it's crucial for policymakers to remain focused on efforts to get the economy back on track. I think we know what's happening. We have 1 million people who have lost their jobs and more are expected to lose. Wages are being cut. So in light of this political mess we are in, calling for a snap election cannot be a viable option in my opinion. But then some of them think, look, there is this political uncertainty.
Yeah.
There is this political.
There is this some feel that there is this uncertain political situation, and although it was brought about unreasonably by the current Pakatan National, let's decide once and for all who's in power and who has to be in power, who has the right to be in power. So I think on that score, because you must understand, we need investors. Investors look at political stability as one of the key factors. Otherwise, they just pull out. I mean, why do they want to spend their time here worrying about us when they need to make the money? They need to survive. So if you call a snap election, it's going to take a couple of months or maybe 2 or 3. And then because of the COVID, you need to have new SOPs. So it's going to be a huge planning process, which is going to strain everyone, the people, the government, the businessmen. So I think we should not have a snap election for the moment. We should go on with this, and the leaders should sit down and go to the ground and see what's happening actually. For now, I know people are saying that the rightful mandate was taken away unfairly. Yes, but let's get out of this COVID situation and then we really plan for a snap election.
Basically, don't fix it if it ain't broke right now.
Yes, you're right.
All right. That's it.
Maki, thank you so much.